Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you want to see how I made this beautiful 6x6 closure wig, stay tuned. Okay, some things you're going to need is a dome mesh cap, some scissors, and a crayon or a marker to draw your lines on the cap. We're working with the 6x6 HD closure wig today, and the bundles are coming from a revamp that a client sent me. She had someone else make it, but it just didn't fit properly. So what we're going to do is change out this 5x5 closure to a 6x6, take off the tracks off this old cap, and completely remake the wig to fit her head, which is a size 22. The wig is already clean, so let's go. Off camera, I've already laid down the closure onto the cap. If you would like a video on how to do it this flat, please subscribe and leave a comment below and I'll make a video for you. So we're going to go ahead and stitch down our closure. I like to do it by hand. Some people like to do it by machine, but it's easier for me to do it by hand. A technique that I like to do is start my knot from my thread away from my closure because I don't like any bumps or lumps near the edge of my lace where it starts on the cap. So I start a knot, I take it through the mesh, and then I go not through the elastic but through the mesh, and then I start my small stitching through the closure and through the mesh. Please be sure not to go through the elastic because you want your wig to be able to stretch when the client puts it on, and because HD lace is really thin, you don't want anything to rip or pop. So now we've made it halfway through that one side of the closure, so we're just going to keep it moving on alongside this closure with small stitching all the way to the other side. So you can see I went all the way to the opposite side of the closure, and now I'm going to do the same exact small stitching that I did on the opposite side until I get to the end. Now that I'm complete with this side of the stitching, I'm going to go ahead and use the same technique that I started with on the opposite side, which is going through the mesh and ending my knot away from the end of the wig, which allows you to not have any lumps around the face when you sew down your tracks. But don't worry, because you're not going to have that problem when you sew down your track over this knot right here. When making your 1-inch partings, you want to start at the line right below where the elastic starts, where that 9 is. So the tape measure is pinned down to the canvas head so I can make accurate lines for my 1-inch partings. And depending on how many bundles you're adding, you can do 1/2 inch or you can do 1 inch. It just depends on whether or not you're double stitching or single stitching. So now we're going to just make those lines on both sides of the wig. So we're going to follow the pattern that we started from the middle. Here is a pro tip. You see where I have that pin? That's where my client's ear is going to rest, the top of the ear. So I don't like to put tracks in that area because I did hair for 10 years, and I know that was a complaint of tracks pushing along the ear or irritating the ear. So in that area, because I've been doing this for so long, I know exactly where the ear rests, the top of the ear rests. So I don't put tracks in that area. So that's why you see me stopping my lines short in that one area. Now we're in the crown area of the wig. I like to make a short line instead of a bunch of lines all the way to the end of the wig, because I don't like my tracks bunched up along the edges, because you don't, like I said, you don't want any lumps, you want anything too bulky, you want your wig flat and as natural as possible. So that's what that short line is for. And then I just follow the rest of the lines along each side of the wig exactly how I started in the middle. And as you can see, my spaces are just about perfect, and then I'm going to finish that on the opposite side, as you can see, and we're just about ready to get started. Also, I like to make 2 extra short lines at the top of the wig to make sure there's no spaces between the tracks. Because the wig already had pre-cut wefts, we're going to double stitch those together. So what you do is you put them under your presser foot side by side, hold them firmly as you begin to sew to ensure that they don't overlap each other. We want to create a seamless flat look, so they have to be sewn side by side, not directly on top of each other. I've already inserted my custom cloth tags, so I'm going to go ahead and get that out the way, lay my track on the line that I created earlier, and begin to sew the track down to the cap. Now that I'm getting close to the end of stitching that first track, I like to cut it before I do my back and forth stitching so that I know for sure that everything on the end of that track is locked in for the longevity of this wig, so nothing is going to come loose, because I went over it about 3 or 4 times back and forth with my machine. This video is made with the assumption that you already know how to set up your machine. If you don't know how to set up your machine, please Google or look on YouTube on how to set up your machine. Sometimes the manufacturer will put up a video on how to set up your type of machine. Now we're just about at the middle of the wig. We're coming up close to that section where I left the ear part out. So I'm going along those lines where the ear space is. And as you can see, that is exactly how it looks. When the client puts the wig on, their ear is going to rest in that area and nothing is going to irritate, scratch, or push their ears. Now we're at the top of the wig, and this is where you're going to start a little bit more technique, a little bit more hand technique. So you're going to spin or turn your wig cap as you're sewing so that you get around that closure. If you look closely, I'm taking my time as I guide the wig through the machine at an angle, at a curve, to go around that closure. Take your time, like don't rush on this part, because you don't want to mess anything up and have to start all the way back over. It's the most annoying thing to have to take all this apart and start over. The last and final track. Put the track alongside of the closure, not on top of the end of the closure, but alongside, and begin stitching. Take your time here as well, because you don't want to have to start over and mistakenly take it apart and rip the closure, rip the cap, or something like that. So take your time as you're using, those turning techniques to go around the closure. Guide it through. Make sure it doesn't go on top. You don't want any lumps or any like buckling or something like that. So just take your time as you guide it through the machine. And now we are done. Now that we're complete, flip your wig inside out and cut the extra cap off underneath the closure. Please be sure not to cut your hand or the thread or the lace. Please, I've done it before and had to repair it with clear thread. I can make a video on that too if you like, but please just be careful. Here's what your wig should look like on the inside. Basically perfect, no lumps, and all flat. You guys, it's 2022 and we don't want to see any lumps, okay? So if you would like to see more content like this, please like and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram at Vanity Crowns and shop vanitycrowns.com. Bye.